Chapter 25. We flew east through thick gray fog. I wondered if we had the strength for such a long journey, all the way across the city, then along the span of the Great Bridge, and then who knows how far beyond that. Once I had conceived of the world as a realm no larger than 10 times the size of our laboratory home. Who could have imagined that beyond those familiar walls lay such a frightening immensity of space?
Darla, let's not fly so high,
called Hunky, lagging behind in the swirling darkness.
We're not astronauts,
gasped Pete.
We don't have to attempt a lunar orbit.
Oh, all right, grumbled Darla, banking left and gliding lower over the fringe of downtown. But try not to crash into any trees.
Hey, there's Effie's building,
Hunky pointed out.
Be prepared to dodge some bullets,
panted Petey. I glanced down and noticed a lone figure pause in a doorway and casually light a cigarette. It was a tall man in a dark suit. His head turned as he blew out the match, and from under the brim of his hat, yellow-gray horizontal eyes gazed up at me. A passing car briefly illuminated his long, bony jaw. The man turned and strode briskly down the sidewalk.
My God,
I stammered, almost falling out of the sky.
It's him!
It's who? Inquired Petey.
It's him! It's Mr. Spade!
Where? Exclaimed Hunky.
Down there!
I shouted.
Follow me!
I catapulted into the steepest dive of my life. Up ahead, the man glanced back, turned to the right, and walked into the deep shadows between two buildings. Robin, called Darla from far overhead. Wait up! What's the rush? Complained Zeb, who had volunteered to come along as Darla's escort. I glided down between the buildings and landed in the fetid dampness of a narrow alley. Dim, bare bulbs over shuttered doors stabbed crazy shadows across the high brick walls. Cold bath water fell in solitary drops from distant roofs. A chill wind stirred the leaden fog and scattered the litter in the gutter.
Where is he?
Asked Petey, landing heavily behind me. I glanced desperately left and right as my companions fluttered down around me.
Which way did he go?
Asked Hunky. I don't see anyone, said Zeb.
Yeah, me neither,
grunted Yancey.
What's going on?
Robin, there's no one here, said Darla.
He must be here,
I shouted.
I saw him come this way.
I listened intently. No footsteps. The alley was deserted.
Oh, Robin, look,
said Darla, pointing. We all turned. On the wall of a tall building, the dull sheen of metal. It's some sort of plaque, I said. Hunky, what does it say? Hunky studied the raised letters just visible in the dim light of a faraway street lamp.
I don't believe it,
he gasped.
What is it?
Demanded Pete. Hunky looked at me, then turned back toward the sign.
It says, on approximately this spot, Miles Archer, partner of Sam Spade, was done in by Bridget O'Shaughnessy.
Bridget shot Miles, exclaimed Petey. That's impossible, I said, stunned. Floyd Thursby shot Miles, and then someone, probably Joel Cairo, iced Thursby. But, Robin, why does this sign implicate Bridget? Asked Darla. It does more than implicate her, Zeb pointed out. I have no idea. Mr. Spade could never fall in love with a woman who killed his partner. He's much too savvy for that. Yes, well, sometimes people are not exactly what they seem, said Darla, and even intelligent people can be duped. Meaning what? I demanded. Robin, Dr. Milburn and Marian they may not have our best interests at heart.
Marianne's a doll, said Yancey. She wouldn't hurt a feather on my handsome head.
And Dr. Milburn is practically a Nobel laureate, I pointed out. No, Darla, your suspicions are sadly misplaced. It's late. Shall we go? All right, Robin, she sighed. Whatever you say. Darla was right about one thing. The journey to Berkeley was long and difficult. Flying directly toward the rising sun, we puffed from tower to tower on the great silver bridge, then worked our way across grim industrial districts toward the beckoning campus, identified by Darla, gleaming white on a distant hill. By the time we arrived at last on a ledge outside a window of our lab, the day was almost over. Far below us, the fading sun was flinging its pink-tinged radiance across the backwater bay and hanging golden tinsel on lavender clouds suspended beneath the coral sky. Well, this is it, said Darla softly.
Yeah, it has an air of familiarity about it, observed Petey
with ill-concealed excitement. Zeb, are you sure you don't want to come in with us? I asked.
Not in your life, he replied.
Robin, I'm not coming in either, said Darla. But, Darla, why not? I asked. There's nothing in there for me, Robin. And besides, the others need me. Darla, I don't know what to say.
Give our regards to the others,
said Hunky.
Yeah, please do,
added Petey. Would you like us to hang around out here for a while? Asked Darla. In case there's trouble. No, that won't be necessary, I said. We'll be fine. Thanks for everything, Darla. I hope it works out for you, Robin, she said. I'll miss you. And I'll miss you too, I said. All of you. Darla, it'll be dark soon, said Zeb impatiently. We should go.
I see Marian,
exclaimed Yancey, tapping frantically on the glass.
She's coming this way.
I turned around and peered eagerly in through the window as behind me Darla and Zeb fluttered away. A pale, featherless wingtip released the latch. The window opened, and I inhaled the sweet, familiar scent of my love. She looked out and smiled, melting my inner ice caps and swamping my heart with tidal waves of joy. Dr. Milburn, she called. They're back.
What's that strange odor?
Whispered Honky.
Cat,
replied Petey.
It smells like cat.
The lab has been taken over by cats. Cage after cage of hairy, smelly cats puffing on our dragomatics, sucking on our sherry tubes, and crunching noisily on Yancey's fried pork rinds. It's all very unsettling. And why did dear Marian put us in a control group cage? Just a tray of oddly stale hygienic pigeon chow, but no vital dragomatic or essential sherry tube.
I'm dying for a cigarette,
said Honky.
All these cats are making me extremely nervous. I need a drink,
said Petey. Now. I expect Marian went to fill some sherry tubes with champagne, I said. A special occasion like this calls for a real celebration.
Maybe they'll give us each our own cigar,
suggested Honky.
That babe is looking choice, grunted Yancey. Really choice.
At that moment, the object of Yancey's base lust emerged with Dr. Milburn from his office. The eminent biologist was not smiling.
So, a The prodigal killer pigeons have returned, have they?
It's them, Dr. Milburn, said Marian excitedly. See, Honky has the gold peg on his missing leg.
And where's the rest of your gang? He demanded. Still out there, sowing havoc, assaulting government officials, and compounding my legal woes? The guy looks pissed, whispered Yancey.
What shall I do with them, Dr. Milburn? Asked Marian.
Process them, of course.
But, Dr. Milburn, she objected, the tests are corrupted. The data would be meaningless.
I'll decide issues of relevance, Marian. As far as I'm concerned, the test animals all returned. We processed them promptly and moved on to a new round of tests with a different species, namely felines. That's what the documentation will show. You process these animals tonight, but leave the date blank for me to fill in.
But, Dr. Milburn,
I want that data on my desk tomorrow, he insisted. I've had it. I never want to see another damn pigeon.
A collective gasp in our cage.
Dr. Milburn called us pigeons,
exclaimed Honky. My head swirled, my brain reeled, my self-image staggered back and forth, teetered on the brink, and toppled into an abyss of confusion.
What's process mean?
Asked Yancey, seemingly unperturbed by this lightning-quick identity shift.
I think they're going to check our temperature,
said Petey.
You know, give us a physical exam. My temperature is hot, bragged Yancey. Hot for Marian.
1 nervous hour later, having refilled all of the lab's dragomatics, Marian wiped her hands on a towel and walked over to our cage. Sorry, boys, she said, opening the door. Which one wants to go first? I'll go, I said, sensing a darker purpose behind Dr. Milburn's ambiguous word.
Forget it, Robin, said Yancey, hopping up onto her hand. You never had a chance with this babe. She's mine.
Marian closed and latched the cage, and, softly stroking Yancey's head, carried the leering tot-mugger into the adjoining equipment room. He glanced back at me in smug satisfaction. His triumph was short-lived. I will spare you the grisly details, the ominous clatter of instruments, the sudden shrieking abruptly terminated by a shocking thwack, plucking of feathers, the rending of flesh, the crunching of bone, the plonk against the stainless steel counter of quivering, gouged-out organs, the whirl of grinders, the high-pitched wail of the liver-digesting centrifuge, the final sickening sprung of the waste container lid as the plundered cadaver was brutally discarded. Yes, my love is a murderer, as was, I now have no doubt, Brigid O'Shaughnessy. Sam Spade himself had sent me a sign, and I foolishly ignored it. Darla was right, just as she was almost always right. Both the great San Francisco detective and I had been deceived, taken in by a woman's coy smile. The toll for him, I assumed, was loneliness and heartbreak. I was to pay for my folly with my life, and worse, the lives of my friends. Marian returned, wiping her foul hands on the same besmirched towel. I never cared much for that bird, she remarked.
Yeah, he may have sensed that at the end,
gasped Petey. That's the cat interference there. The murderess approached our cage and unclicked the latch. I felt the icy grip of terror. My heart pounded wildly in my breast. I gazed one last time at my loyal companion. I made the only decision possible. I would be the next one to go. Marian paused. "Oh, I've got all night," she said, re-clicking the latch. "I have all those cages to clean. Cats are much more work than you fellows were. Now I don't even have time to read." Okay, I'm not a person. I'm a pigeon. I'm a sawed-off urban bird with identity problems. Like Norris, I clung to my illusions rather than face the inappropriateness of my love. He gave his heart to a metal statuette. I entrusted mine to a homicidal human. I lived in a chemical world of romantic delusion. So sweet was the vision, I ignored the feeble peripheral sputterings of my physical senses. I denied what my eyes could see, what my ears could hear. My friends, though, must have sensed the truth. Yet they willingly came back with me to this perilous place. Why? I can think of no other reason except selfless loyalty and love. "I'm seriously annoyed that Kenny isn't hurling a halibut against the window," remarked Pete. "And where's Norris with a timely brick?" demanded Hunky. "It's my fault," I said. "I told Darla and Zeb not to wait. I said everything would be fine. It's all my fault." "Well, we wanted to come back too," said Hunky. "It wasn't just your decision, Robin. I do regret that I'll never be able to see Hunky Jr. take wing. I guess he's Julie's child after all." "That's right," I said. "I was wrong about that too. Sure, he's a pigeon, but so are we." Yes, but we're pretty exceptional pigeons," said Hunky, nibbling on a stale millet seed. "In light of the present circumstances," said Petey, I'm reevaluating my rejection of Blanche. Marriage to her now seems slightly preferable to dissection by Marian." "You know what I regret the most?" I asked. "That Darla is going to wind up with that scoundrel Zeb. She deserves better." "Well, Robin, she's always loved you," Honky pointed out. "Yes, I see that now. Why was I so blind?" "He is never so blind as the pigeon who will not see," remarked Honky. "I still detest your dime store homilies," said Petey. "Damn," I said. "He's got to get out of this cage." "Well, Robin," said Petey, "I used to give that notion some thought, purely as an engineering challenge. I'd mull the problem over while enjoying my Dragomatic." "It was our Dragomatic," said Hunky. "And what did you conclude?" "I observed that the apparatus in question is an externally mounted double latching lock. To open the door, one must click over the sliding bolt, then push down on the release lever. Access to both from inside is blocked by the large stainless steel shield. I eventually concluded escape was impossible." "That's a big help," muttered Honky. "There's a slight difference now," I pointed out. "Is there?" asked Petey. "I'm not sure extreme desperation affects the calculations." "We now have a tool," I said. "What tool?" demanded Honky. "Your leg." Chapter 26. "Where's Marianne now?" I asked. Honky looked around. "Still shoveling cat shit 3 aisles over. Hurry, Robin. I can't balance here forever on one foot." "Don't worry," said Petey. "You don't have forever." Gripping Honky's golden leg stub in my beak, I thrust it down toward the sliding bolt from above the metal shield. The rounded tip of shiny metal barely made contact with the spherical bolt handle. I applied lateral pressure. The bolt moved a few millimeters. I pushed again. "Whatever you do, Robin, don't drop it," whispered Honky. "I won't have a leg to stand on." I pushed again. The bolt slid almost to its release point, but now its handle was out of reach. I moved my gripping point precariously up the cap and tried again. The tip just reached the handle. I pressed sideways. The bolt slid free. Then the door to the lab opened. I gave a start, and the glittering cap tumbled to the floor. "Hey, Marian," called a voice. The bile traitoress looked up from a bank of cages. "Eldon, you're 3 hours early. This is unprecedented." "Couldn't sleep," he said, hanging his grungy backpack on a hook beside the door and sauntering into the room. "I thought I'd relieve you early since I know you have that big paper to write." "How nice," she said. I finally settled on a topic: images of castration anxiety and the sexism of Hammett's alienated anti-hero Sam Spade. "Sounds like a real ball bruiser," he replied. "Glad I was a music major before I flunked out of JC. "Tom and I want to come see your band, Eldon. What's its cute name?" "The Sniveling Idiots." "It's not cute, Marianne. We got a gig at the Berkeley Grind Friday at midnight." "I think I'm off Friday. Maybe we'll come." She's got a boyfriend, I thought. Big deal. The guy better watch his back when she's around. "Cool," said Eldon. "Hey, I hear the killer pigeon showed up." "Yes, Dr. Milburn wants them processed tonight." "Did you, do it already?" he asked. "I did one," she replied, walking towards us. "The rest are over here." "What did the test show?" asked Eldon, following her. "Oh, the usual. Enlarged liver from the alcohol, seriously occluded arteries from the rich diet, and, of course, advanced lung degeneration from the cigarettes." "Our lifestyle!" exclaimed Honky. "It's hazardous to our health." "Yep, those are the killer pigeons, all right," said Eldon, peering into our cage. "There's the white one, the fat one, and the red one. Hey, the white one's missing his little peg leg thing." "Oh, he had it before," said Marian, looking about. "Here it is on the floor. Must have dropped it." Marian pushed the precious peg through the bars of the cage. Honky immediately returned it to his stump. "Say, why don't you go home, Marian?" said Eldon. "I can process these dudes." "You don't mind, Eldon?" "Nah, that feisty red one used to bite me. As the song says, it's payback time." I gulped. So much for Eldon's incessant drivel about peace and love. "Thanks, Eldon," said Marian, putting on her coat. "They were kind of my favorites. I wasn't looking forward to working on them." "Don't you worry, babe," said Eldon. "They won't feel a thing." "Goodbye, boys," she called, picking up her purse. "Goodbye, murderer," we chirped. She left. Eldon looked us over. His broad smile could only be described as diabolical. "Yup," he's saying. "Old Eldon got here just in the nick of time." "The Beatles had Brian Epstein," said Eldon, leaning over until his inflamed nose nearly touched the wires of our cage. I couldn't decide which was worse, his pimples or his breath. "And the Sniveling Idiots have the killer pigeons." "What's he talking about?" asked Honky. "Maybe he wants us to manage his band," Petey suggested hopefully. "Now, boys," Eldon continued,
I could take you in that room and process your deeds for $8.45 an hour, or I could haul your little feathered asses over to the San Francisco cops and collect $10,000. Which would you do? It's an ethical dilemma, agreed Pete. I know what you're thinking, said Eldon. You're thinking, what could old Eldon do with $10,000? Get a haircut? Ventured Honky. Buy a toothbrush, suggested Pete. I'll tell you what I could do. I could get our CD produced. I can get the sniveling idiots on the road to subterranean notoriety. What the hell is that? Asked Honky.
That's what young people of Eldon's generation strive for in place of success, I explained.
And that's not all, he continued. I can get a new amp for my bass. Who knows? I might even have enough left over for some of that Jolton Mindo gold. And I owe it all to the 3 little pigeons who came home to their papa. There's no need to be insulting, said Honky. Honky, get set to lend me your leg, said Pete. If he comes any closer, I'll poke out his eye.
On the road to San Francisco. Where exactly, I can't say, since Eldon covered our cage with some sort of funky blanket. From the cage's angle of inclination, the sounds of the mechanical rumbling and Eldon's nearby presence, revealed by his loud singing, I've deduced our cage has been placed beside him on the front seat of his car.
What's that horrible song?
Asked Honky, greedily inhaling Eldon's second-hand smoke.
It sounds like a punk version of We're in the Money, said Petey. Hey, don't bogart the air. I'm not bogarting the air. I'm just breathing.
Okay, Honky, I said. Let's have your leg again.
Sure,
he said, plucking it from his stump.
Only this time, don't drop it.
You shouldn't tell me that, I snapped. It's hard enough doing the job under this kind of pressure. My nerves are shot.
Sorry, Robin, he replied. Feel free to drop my leg. I've always wanted to see the inside of prison while hopping about on one foot.
As before, I clung to the wires of the cage and thrust the cap down toward the latching apparatus.
Too bad Eldon pushed the bolt back,
said Petey.
I know,
said Honky.
The guy is usually so reliably slipshod.
Concentrating intently, I struggled to slide back the locking bolt while somehow retaining my grip on the pin cap despite the constant jolting of the moving car. At last, I felt the bolt click free. I pulled the cap back into the cage and paused to quiet my racing heart.
Good job, Robin, said Honky. We're halfway there. What do we do if we get the door open?
Asked Petey. Bail out a window, I replied.
And if they're all rolled up?
Said Honky. Go for Eldon. Big time. Unfortunately, the loop of wire that formed the release lever presented a much smaller target than the fat handle of the bolt, and it was positioned tightly up against the metal door shield. Again and again I pressed down against it, only to have the tip of the cap slip off. Then Eldon paused in his song. The car slowed to a stop, and we felt a gust of fume-laden air. A moment later, the car accelerated, and Eldon resumed his serenade to affluence.
He probably paid the toll for the bridge, whispered Petey. Ask not for whom the bridge tolls,
said Honky. I resumed my efforts, this time experimenting by holding onto the clip and prying with the wider end of the cap. It worked. I felt the lever move away from the shield. Quickly, I turned the cap around, pressed the tip against the loop, pushed it down, and felt the door move on its hinges. I tossed Honky his peg and pushed. The door swung open an inch against the constricting blanket. "Okay, men," I said. "When I give the sign, we throw all of our weight against this door. 1, 2, 3, go!" We shoved. The door moved. A gap appeared. I squeezed through, then Honky, then Petey. We struggled to find an opening in the enveloping folds of a musty blanket.
"Hey, what the fuck?"
we heard Eldon cry. We felt the car swerve. A hand pulled back the blanket. Daylight. We hit the floor and ducked under the front seat.
"Shit!"
screamed Eldon. The car swerved again. A hand groped desperately for us. Then 2 hands. The car lurched and skidded. Horns blared all around us. The car swerved, spun around violently, and rolled over. Again and again. Metal shattered glass. Glass exploded. A thud of impact. More skidding. More thuds. Then we were at rest, and I saw light and felt a chill breeze. "Men!" I shouted. "This way!"
"Actually,"
I heard Honky say,
"I'm a pigeon."
Chapter 27. Petey insisted we stop for a quick breakfast on the pigeon chow lady. Then we flew on to the Palace of Fine Arts. "Honky, you're back!" exclaimed Julie, overjoyed to see us. "And Robin, too!" "Even Petey," sang Blanche. "Where's Darla?" I asked urgently. "She's off with Zeb," replied Julie. "Doing what?" I demanded. "Gathering nest materials," replied Blanche. "An activity I expect we'll be engaged in shortly," she added, gazing severely at Petey. I was too late. A black despair seized my heart. "Miss Jerriger," I said, "there's something I must know. Do pigeons mate for life?" Verna looked up thoughtfully from her nest. "Well, that is a matter of some conjecture. Next, you take the case of—" "Of course pigeons mate for life," interjected Darla, fluttering down from the concrete ledge. Scraps of shredded paper were clutched in her lovely knobby toes. "I was afraid of that," I said despairingly. "You were right, Darla. Marian revealed herself to be a ruthless murderer." "Oh, that's terrible!" she exclaimed. "What happened?" "Where's Yancy?" demanded Phoebe, emerging from her trailer doorway.
Actually, that's how Marianne qualifies as a murderer,"
Petey explained. "He's dead?" she asked, stricken.
"The guy was a hero,"
Honky lied consolingly.
"He gave his life for science."
"I'm cursed," she wailed, retreating into her mobile home. "I've got more bad news," I announced. "We're pigeons." "Speak for yourself," sniffed Sunny. "Being a pigeon is nothing to be ashamed of," said Sister Angelina charitably. "It certainly isn't," agreed Miss Jerriger. "Congratulations, Robin, on your successful identity integration. It's a momentous step toward positive mental health." "Of course we're pigeons," laughed Darla. "It's very nice being a pigeon," added Wally Jr. from the trailer. "Except they don't make Ferraris in our size." "You mean, Darla, you knew you were a pigeon?" I asked. "Well, Robin, I did experience some initial confusion. I identified strongly with my human caretakers, and Dr. Milburn always referred to us test animals as ladies and men. I think now the evil man was being facetious, but a girl knows in her heart what she is. Besides, people can't fly." "No, they can't," I agreed. It all seems so logical now. Not to be superior about it, said Julie, but I feel our ability to fly and scavenge for food and live together in a crowded city under often difficult circumstances makes our species rather special. It's beautiful being a pigeon.
You're very beautiful, said Honky.
Oh, Honky. Darla smiled and gazed expectantly at me. I felt another wave of despair. Well, Darla, guess I should congratulate you. I hope you and Zeb will be very happy together. That's not very likely, Robin, she said softly. Why not? Pigeons mate for life. First, confusion, then a faint glimmer of hope. You mean? That's right, my dearest. Oh, Darla. Oh, Robin. Blanche smiled and gazed expectantly at Petey.
Damn,
He said, rubbing his side.
I think I bruised my gizzard in that rollover.
I'm sorry I let you down, Robin,
said Kinney, returning that afternoon from a visit with his mother.
I wanted to go see how you were doing in Berkeley, but Zeb said you would be bad if we showed up.
You didn't let us down, Kinney, I replied. By the way, where is Zeb?
He and Jasper are out on a major bender, reported Norris. The beer keg has been refilled.
That's intriguing news,
said Petey. Petey, think of your liver, I reminded him.
I can't, Robin. All my available brain capacity is devoted to fixating on the cigarette I'm madly denying myself.
Then think about our press coverage. Honky, what does Kinney's newspaper say?
The headline is,
Escaping KPs cause massive commute tie-up.
We've achieved true fame,
said Petey.
They're now referring to us by our initials.
Honky, what's it say about Eldon? I asked.
It says he's in San Francisco General Hospital with moderate injuries. They're hailing him as a hero. The mayor was photographed at his bedside autographing his cast, and big-time record producers are phoning with audition offers for the sniveling idiots.
This could be his big break, I said.
You mean his third big break,
said Honky.
The first two were compound fractures to his arm and leg. Any more about us?
Asked Petey.
There's a quote from Dr. Milburn. He's denying any knowledge of our return to his lab.
What a liar, I said.
Actually, the big news is the Bugsy Bug invasion, continued Honky. It says here tourism is down 80%. The bugs are giving the visitors the creeps, chasing them away in droves. Conventions are being canceled, and the hotels are virtually empty. Restaurants are suffering too.
I thought the dumpster pickings have been pretty slim lately, said Darla. Fortunately, we've had the Bugsy Bugs to fall back on. You mean you eat them too? I asked. Of course, Robin. They're quite tasty and nourishing too. Honky Jr. is growing by leaps and bounds. I noticed, I replied. No longer pink and downy, Honky's stepson had reached the prickly, ungainly stage. Too bad the beauty of the pigeon does not extend to the squab. Here, she said, offering me a bug. Care to try one? I grasped the squirming, furry thing in my beak, fought against revulsion, and gulped. No rising gorge, no waves of nausea. In fact, it wasn't bad. Not bad at all. Lingering on the palate were flavors of smoked venison, spicy rosemary, and an earthy hint of wild chanterelles. It's delicious, I said. I know, said Darla. I just wish everyone would try them. Darla, darling, I said, you've just given me an idea. We went to Union Square. We went to Civic Center. We went to the Trans Bay Terminal. We went to Fisherman's Wharf and Pier 39. Everywhere we went, we called together our fellow pigeons and invited them to sample Bugsy Bugs. Impressed, they told their friends, who told their friends. When we had covered the city, we went to Brisbane, San Mateo, and the peaceful cemeteries of Colma. We flew on to the East Bay and Marin County, even down to Silicon Valley and San Jose. Soon the skies over San Francisco were black with millions of hungry, civic-minded pigeons. Vast flocks descended on the parks in the backyards, the marina green and the slopes of Twin Peaks, the beaches in the Castro district, even the manicured lawns of Seacliff. Everywhere our fellow pigeons landed, they eagerly devoured Bugsy Bugs. At my side throughout this endeavor, laboring harder than anyone, was Darla. It's a curious thing, I said to her one day while clearing out a large FB population in Washington Park. Since I've been eating Bugsy Bugs, I've lost my taste for cigarettes. I'm happy to hear, Robin dear, and you seem much stronger. You know, I can't believe people actually smoke those things. Kenny's given them up too, darling. Zeb still smokes, poor thing. Of course, his character is regrettably weak. I thought you liked him, darling. I rather enjoyed his attentions for a time, Robin, but I could never love someone who is deceitful and steals food from small children. I had a talk with him yesterday. He's decided to move in with Phoebe. Really? I didn't think he liked her. Norris helped him decide. Ah, yes, that falcon can be very persuasive. Suddenly, day turned to night as thousands of pigeons stampeded into the sky. I turned and waved to Norris and Angelina, who had arrived to perform the ceremonial blessing of the Bugsy feast. Robin dear, this blessing business isn't really helping, said Darla. They're terrifying our workers. It's putting us days behind schedule. I know, Darla, but what can I do? It was Sister Angelina's idea, and I don't want to hurt her feelings. Robin, would you say that we are preying upon these Bugsy Bugs? Well, I suppose you could put it that way, Darla, if you considered it from the bug's point of view. Not that I do. Therefore, you'd agree that one can pray without being particularly religious. Darla, darling, what are you saying? Robin, I don't think Angelina is a nun. Really, but she seems so devout. Yes, well, sometimes a girl makes accommodations in the interests of love. One pretends to enthusiasms one may not share. Don't look so worried, Robin. I do enjoy picnicking on Bugsy Bugs with you. I just thought perhaps you could have a chat with Norris. I'll do that, I said. He might be interested to hear she's not a nun. Very interested indeed. The day after we gave Mrs. M's severe Bugsy Bug infestation our personal attention, she called a press conference in her decimated but now pristine garden. At her side were the pigeon chow lady, Effie Perrine, and other prominent citizens. Mrs. M pointed out that they had received reports from all parts of the city of killer pigeons waging a heroic campaign against the demon bugs. We ought to call them not killer pigeons, but rescue pigeons, she declared. They are rescuing the city from financial ruin. Then Mrs. M dropped a bombshell. She divulged that a high city official had informed her privately that the incriminating body parts found in the tree were fake. These birds are not killers, thundered the pigeon chow lady. They're heroes. And excellent dancers, too, added Effie. 2 hours later, the mayor called his own press conference to announce that all charges had been dropped.
I'm not sure what attacked me that night, he explained. It might have been bats.
He also announced that the Board of Supervisors had just passed emergency legislation making it a misdemeanor to interfere with the activities of rescue pigeons. Violators would be subject to arrest and fines of $10,000. The newspapers took up the campaign. Everywhere in the city, people came out of their homes to hail and praise passing pigeons. Rich snacks were offered up until it was observed that this commendable but misguided generosity was hindering the all-important anti-Bugsy Bug campaign. There were other consequences. Popular opinion turned against Eldon. In the editorial pages, our abductor was denounced as a long-haired opportunist and heavy metal profiteer. The sniveling idiots were bounced by their new record company. Curiously, this made the band even more popular with their small coterie of rabid fans, thus earning our former lab attendant a small measure of subterranean notoriety. After the last known Bugsy Bug in the city had been plucked off a German tourist on Nob Hill, we bid farewell to the doleful stone ladies. They seemed sad to see us go, and moved back to our lavishly refurbished Gold Rush Sherry sign. Nests soon appeared in many chambers, including the spacious view apartment I share with Darla. Putting religious issues aside, Norris and Angelina jointly vowed to forsake celibacy. Kinney met a lovely seagull, Nicole, who is working on overcoming her irrational prejudice against pigeons. Sunny continues abrasively virile, but is receiving in-nest counseling from his mate. They think their new baby may be a female. Wally Jr. and Ina, no longer a baby, finally left the trailer home, but often drop by. The latter continues to snub Jasper's romantic overtures, not being attracted to older pigeons who smoke and twitch. Phoebe is worried about Zeb, who caught her molt germs and has developed a nasty cough to boot. He and Jasper are frequent visitors to the special pigeon window recently opened at the top of the mark by the grateful hotel management. All the sherry you can drink, and the fried pork rinds are always crisp. Plenty of smokes, too, if you wish to ruin your health. We hardly go there ourselves. Have you heard the latest rumor? I asked, lounging on top of our sign in the warm spring sunshine. The rumor is Sam Spade is actually a pigeon.
Who's spreading that nutty rumor?
Asked Petey, dining on a cold stepped-on chicken nugget. Well, I am, I replied. All the clues fit. That's why he wasn't really in love with Bridget.
Then who was the guy in the alley?
Asked Petey. Who knows? I replied. It could have been anyone. It was very dark.
Okay, it makes a certain amount of sense,
said Hunky.
Petey, are you going to bogart that snack?
I am, yeah.
It's the only vice Blanche hasn't harangued out of me. Where have you been, anyway? Working, said Hunky. You should try it sometime. I was helping Julie collect leaves for the FBs. We are keeping a colony of Bugsy Bugs in reserve for snacks, infant food, and as a hedge against any possible revival in the city of anti-pigeon sentiment. My sweet Darla thinks of everything. I've been thinking, I said. Uh-oh,
said Hunky. Things have been pretty calm around here.
Too calm,
said Petey.
What's on your mind, Robin?
Ted Trinello.
But Ted's in jail, said Honky. After recovering from a near-fatal case of cat scratch fever, he's now facing 17 felony counts. You're not... That's right, Min, I said, lowering my voice. We spring brave Ted. It's the least we can do. Now here's my plan. The end.